It takes a man of a certain age to remember that every racing car that makes us fizz today usually has a grandparent that was pounding around a racetrack somewhere in the distant past. This little group features some of the best from the 60s and 70s and later, yet the names are familiar. BMW, Alfa Romeo, Nissan Skyline. When it's in the blood, it's in the blood. Long before the BMW M3, for example, there was the 2002 Turbo. And long before today's Nissan GTR, there was the original Skyline GTR. And as long as there have been cars in Italy, Italians have been racing them. The Alfa Romeo Giulia Sprint GTA was a kind of Italian M3 of its day, and could be found everywhere on racetracks around the world in the 1960s. With its lightweight aluminium body, it's a very lovely thing. So in danger of sounding like a parent making you listen to their music, I suggest you give this lot a go. The new stuff is not always the best stuff. GT this and GT that. Everything is a GT these days. Only they're not. GT, it stands for Grand Tourer, or it did. It described the kind of a car a man of means and with time on his hands could drive to wherever he wanted in the world, and always with an exceedingly attractive lady in the passenger seat. These are some of the very best. Close your eyes and you can see the Mediterranean glinting down below. Hear some gentle jazz playing in the background. Was there ever a more beautiful GT than the Mercedes 300 SL Gullwing? Well, yeah, there probably was, the E-Type Jaguar, but the Gullwing is more famous. And was there ever a more famous man of means than James Bond? Here's your chance to drive an Aston Martin DB5. We have the cars, you have the time. So off you go and rediscover Grand Touring. Say hello to Saint-Tropez from me. Everything is an icon these days. Phones, fridges, football players, but these cars really are. Remarkably, one man, the much-missed Carroll Shelby, had a hand in 3 of them. Shelby had won Le Mans and beaten Ferrari in an Aston Martin, but wanted to win in his own car. The Cobra, a shotgun marriage of a European AC chassis and American Ford V8 muscle, was his first attempt. But the GTO was faster, especially in a straight line. Something purpose-built, money-no-object was needed, and Ford gave Shelby its checkbook. The GT40, created exclusively with the purpose of beating Ferrari at Le Mans, was the result. And beat Ferrari it did, in 1966, in 1967, in 1968 and in 1969. Ferrari had won the previous 6 races. It hasn't won at Le Mans since. You might want to turn the volume up for this lot. A whole paddock of racing pony cars with big engines and even bigger names from the American Trans Am scene from the late 1960s. Actually, there's one that snuck in that never raced, but the 1977 Pontiac Firebird Trans Am did star in Smokey and the Bandit. And if it's good enough for Burt Reynolds, it's good enough for us. Burt's Firebird's 2 predecessors, the 69 and the 73, did compete. The latter with a 7.5-litre V8. Not that such a huge engine was any guarantee of success. If you want to race a winner, try the Boss Mustang and the AMC Javelin, all Trans Am champions in one form or another. Lastly, the car with the very bestest name here, the 1970 Mercury Cougar Eliminator. If you're here looking for delicately balanced namby-pamby European sports cars, you are in the wrong place. Dust off your work shirt, pull on some aviators, call up your girl. Time to go racing in the street. Here, in all their late 60s glory, are the icons of the American muscle car era. There's nothing not to like about cars like these. So what story are you going to write today, and where to start? Back in 1968, with the Hearst performance-fettled Oldsmobile Cutlass, or in psychedelic 1969, when the hippies were welcoming the age of Aquarius, but the rest of us were more interested in the 366 bhp Pontiac GTO Judge. By 1970, the muscle car era was drawing to a close. Time for one last hurrah in the minds of muscle car engineers, hence the 454 cubic inches V8 in the Chevelle SS. Before you reach for your calculator app, yep, that's 7.4 litres. So what are you waiting for? Just pretend it's Friday. And the bell's just rung.
Yes. Now somehow a beetle has got in here. But don't let that put you off. In this little gang from the 60s and 70s, there's also a Lotus Elan Sprint. Old Lotuses remind us that it really is not so complicated to make a car good to drive. Just make it as light as possible and as powerful as is reasonable. Make it have just a little less grip than it actually needs, and, most importantly, make sure the steering wheel is connected directly to the front wheels. No hydraulics, absolutely no electronics. Likewise, if the only Mini you've ever driven in the real world is the comparatively huge car BMW makes today, here's your chance to experience what a team of slightly bonkers Englishmen had in mind when they invented the extremely compact original Mini. Smaller sometimes is better.